It's a quiet Tuesday morning and you're 73 years old. You sit down with your coffee, open up your investment account, and there it is, a number you didn't put there, a withdrawal you didn't request. The account did it on its own. This is the moment most retirees don't fully understand until it's already happening to them. It's called a required minimum distribution, and once you understand what it's actually doing in the background, you'll see why so many retirees end up paying more in taxes than they ever expected to. Here's the part almost nobody explains clearly. The government lets you defer taxes on your 401k and traditional IRA for decades. That was the deal. Put money in, skip the tax now, pay it later. But later has a deadline. At 73, the IRS stops waiting. They calculate a percentage of your account based on your age and your balance, and they require you to take it out, whether you need the money or not. That withdrawal counts as income every single year, even if you don't spend a dime of it. Let's make this real with a couple. We'll call them Frank and Linda. Frank and Linda spent 30 years doing everything right. They maxed out their 401k contributions. They never carried debt. By the time Frank turned 73, their combined retirement accounts had grown to $1.2 million. Sounds like a win, and in a lot of ways it was. But here's what Frank didn't see coming. At 73, his RMD percentage was 3.77%. That meant the IRS required him to withdraw just over $45,000 that year. Combined with his Social Security and a small pension, that pushed Frank and Linda into a higher tax bracket than they'd ever been in during their working years. And remember, this isn't optional income they could choose to leave invested. The IRS doesn't care if the market is down that year or if they didn't need the cash. The withdrawal happens regardless, and the tax bill follows it automatically. By 80, that required withdrawal percentage climbs to 5.35%. By 85, it's over 6.5%. The older you get, the bigger the bite. The balance doesn't even have to grow for this to keep happening. The percentage keeps increasing on its own, built into an IRS table tied to your life expectancy. The longer you're expected to live, the more they want pulled out each year, which feels backwards to most people the first time they hear it explained. Compare that to a different couple, Walt and Diane. They retired at the same age with a similar balance to Frank and Linda. The difference is that Walt started converting a portion of his traditional IRA into a Roth IRA the year he retired at 62 and kept doing it every year until 72. By the time his first RMD came due, his traditional IRA balance and his required withdrawal was meaningfully smaller. Same lifetime of saving, very different tax outcome in their 70s and 80s simply because of what happened in that 11-year gap. This is what we mean by the quiet mistake. Nobody did anything wrong. Frank and Linda did exactly the way they were told to. The mistake isn't a bad decision. It's the absence of a decision made years earlier when there was still time to change the outcome. By the way, if nobody's told you this stuff before, that's kind of the point of this channel. Hit subscribe if you want to keep getting it. New video every single day. Now, back to what we were saying. There's a second layer to this that makes it worse. Those forced withdrawals don't just raise your income tax. They can also trigger something called IRMAA, an extra surcharge on your Medicare premiums. The IRS looks back 2 years at your income to decide if you owe it. So a big RMD year can quietly raise your healthcare costs 2 years down the road, completely separate from the tax bill itself. Here's how sneaky this is. IRMAA works in tiers. Cross a certain income threshold by even a single dollar, and you jump into the next tier completely. Your Medicare Part B and Part D premiums increase for the entire year. Some retirees have crossed a threshold by a small amount because of an RMD they didn't plan around and ended up paying thousands more in Medicare premiums than if they'd converted a little more or a little less the year before. Most retirees never connect those two things. They just notice their Medicare premium went up and assume it's inflation or a policy change or bad luck. They rarely trace it back to a withdrawal that happened automatically 2 years earlier that they didn't even choose. So what's the fix? It's not complicated, but it does require starting before 73, not after. The first option is Roth conversions. In the years between retiring and turning 73, especially if your income is lower than it used to be, you can convert a portion of your traditional IRA into a Roth IRA. You pay tax on that amount now at today's rate, but it permanently removes that money from future RMD calculations. Done gradually over several years, this can meaningfully shrink the size of the forced withdrawals waiting for you later. The second option is simply spending down those accounts earlier and more intentionally. If you retire at 62 and don't touch your traditional IRA until 73, you're giving it 11 extra years to grow, which sounds great until you realize it also means a bigger balance and a bigger required withdrawal right when the tax brackets start working against you. The third option, often overlooked, is qualified charitable distributions. If giving to charity is already part of your life, you can direct your RMDs straight to a qualified charity once you're of age, and that portion doesn't count as taxable income at all. There's a fourth piece almost nobody thinks about until it's too late. What happens to these accounts after you're gone? Leave a traditional IRA to your kids and they inherit your version of this problem on a tighter timeline. Most non-spouse beneficiaries today must empty an inherited IRA within 10 years, which can force large withdrawals during their own highest earning years at their own tax rate. A Roth IRA passed down the same way comes out tax-free. Same inheritance, very different experience for the people receiving it. None of these are one-size-fits-all. The right mix depends on your balance, your other income, and what you actually want your retirement to look like. A Roth conversion that makes sense for someone with a paid-off house and modest other income might be the wrong move for someone still carrying a mortgage or supporting a spouse with very different numbers. That's why this isn't a video telling you which one to pick. It's a video telling you the clock is running either way. But the common thread is this: every one of these strategies only works if you start before the IRS makes the decision for you. Wait until 73 and the choice has already been made on your behalf. That's really the heart of this whole mistake. It's not about the size of your account. Frank and Linda did everything right and still got caught off guard. It's about timing. The years between retirement and 73 are the only window where you have real control over this. Once that forced withdrawal schedule kicks in, you're just along for the ride. If this is the kind of thing that's been sitting in the back of your mind, that quiet feeling that something about your retirement accounts isn't fully sorted out, that feeling is worth listening to. If you found this helpful, do us a favor, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and share it with someone who's getting close to 73 and has never heard the word RMD in their life before. And drop the word RMD in the comments below if you want us to go deeper on Roth conversion timing in a future video. That's exactly what we're covering next. All right, that's all for now. We'll see you next time.